right, President Trump announcing new tariffs against Mexico and the European Union this morning, fueling a wider trade war between the U.S. and its allies. Senior White House reporter Betsy Klein is joining us now from New Jersey, where the president is spending the weekend. Betsy, great to see you. So what more can you tell us?
Yeah, Frederica, I just want to take a step back here to get to the root of all of this economic uncertainty. You will recall President Trump essentially launched a global trade war back in April when he sent those reciprocal tariffs, reshaping the global economic order and really rocking markets. He issued a 90-day pause shortly after that amid so much market volatility. That 90-day pause came up this week. The president announced he was extending that deadline to August 1st, allowing a little bit more time, but he was going to start sending out personalized letters to leaders of different U.S. trading partners. And we are seeing that just today, a pair of letters sent to Mexico and the European Union, of course, two of the United States' biggest trading partners, setting a tariff rate of 30% for both the EU and Mexico. Now, I want to read to you a little bit from that letter to Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum. The president wrote, quote, "Mexico has been helping me secure the border, but what Mexico has done is not enough." That he went on to say there will be no tariff if Mexico or companies within your country decide to build or manufacture product within the United States. Now, shortly following that letter, a top Mexican economic official said that U.S. and Mexican officials had met on Friday, and the Mexican officials conveyed that that 30% tariff marked, quote, unfair treatment, and that they did not agree. Of course, they did agree to continue to keep negotiating and try to get to a better deal. Also on the EU side, the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, she says they are ready to continue working toward an agreement by that August 1st deadline. Of course, all of this contributing to so much mounting uncertainty for investors, consumers, and businesses alike leading up to that August 1st deadline. Frederica.
Indeed. All right. Betsy Klein, thanks so much in New Jersey. Starting next month, President Trump says he's slapping new tariffs on 30% on Mexico and the European Union. Today, Trump unveiled the new rates and letters to the leaders of the EU and Mexico, renewing uncertainty about how this trade war could impact the economy. Let's discuss now with Democratic Congressman Brad Schneider of Illinois. He's a member of the House Ways and Means Committee. Congressman, great to see you this Saturday.
Good to be here.
All right, so what's your reaction to this news and on a weekend?
Well, specifically, it's a weekend, so you're not going to see a reaction in the stock market. But we know a few things. Number one, tariffs are a tax on the American consumer. And there's a place for tariffs. Tariffs should be used when you're punishing bad actors, protecting specific national interests. But the president is using tariffs in this on-again, off-again, unpredictable, quite literally unhelpful way that is only driving more uncertainty, more instability within the American stock market, with the American consumers and American companies, really hurting American small businesses.
I mean, and it seems like it's every other week, or if not every week, there is something about the tariff policies coming out, a new country being imposed with tariffs. And as you mentioned, tariffs might serve as punishment. But in this case, are you starting to see that it's the U.S. economy as a whole that's being used almost like a weapon?
Well, he is weaponizing the American economy, but the people who are going to be hurt the most are the American people, American consumers. He's using it, his threats against Brazil, a 50% tariff if they don't end their trial against Javier Bolsonaro. Well, that's internal Brazilian politics. The American economy should not be used as a weapon there. His threats against our closest trading partners in Mexico and Canada, raising the cost of housing, the cost of food, the cost of automobiles, everything that Americans depend upon, and the markets we count on to be able to export to, he's putting those at risk and really hurting the hopes for Americans to provide for their families.
You mentioned it's putting real stresses on the small businesses as well. You've been back home in your district. You've been talking to constituents, including some of those small business owners. And what are they saying, if not about the tariffs, but also about the passage of the president's budget bill? What are people bracing for?
Well, you have to separate the two. So with tariffs, it's the uncertainty, it's the unpredictability, makes it impossible to make decisions. And I met with a company in my district, Learning Resources, that's been leading the charge fighting these tariffs, actually taking the president and the administration to court. But they have not just postponed decisions; they've canceled investments, in particular to expand their facilities here in the area in our district. That's a multi-million-dollar hit to our economy. On the Obaba, the big beautiful bill, or what really is a big bad bill for America, what we are seeing is an impact. I met with some healthcare providers who are bracing for the worst. People are worried about losing their healthcare. It's $1 trillion hit to Medicaid, but it's also the uncertainty created by this. No one wants to see the economy shrink. We want to make sure it's growing. But the way to do that is for Democrats and Republicans to work together to provide an environment that is stable, predictable, and allowing our business leaders to make the decisions they need to invest in the future, to introduce new products, to build new plants, to hire more people, and really to grow our economy.
Trump started sending out letters notifying countries of tariffs that he plans to impose. Today, he announced plans to impose 30% tariffs on Mexico and the European Union. So what's with this strategy now? And on the weekend, obviously, to not rattle the markets, but what's he doing?
Right. Well, it's very clear that the president's patience on these trade deals have thinned. What we had last heard from Secretary Bessent was that they hope to wrap up all these trade conversations by Labor Day. Now, this is a later deadline than when Peter Navarro had originally said 90 deals in 90 days. It's quite clear that the administration is recognizing that these trade negotiations take more time than what was perhaps expected. And the president himself had said that he would rather just set rates and not deal with this back and forth, and then give these trading partners a little bit more time to negotiate with the U.S. should they decide to. But in a lot of ways, this is just him and his administration trying to follow through with the campaign promises that they made in a very quick way. With the passing of the One Big Beautiful Bill, most of his campaign promises have been codified into law, and so I think the fact that he is sort of rushing through with these letters isn't necessarily surprising in any way.
All right, Stephanie Lai, thank you so much.